express gratitude in a proper manner for what America did for us. And I've come up with a method of doing that, which I hope you like more than listening to a lengthy statement by a consul general. Let me now present to you a special video message from Korea commemorating the 60th anniversary of the outbreak of the Korean War. The message concludes with a letter from President Im Young-bak of the Republic of Korea, which you can read on the screen.
"60 years ago, you came to an unknown land to preserve freedom and peace. We still remember your gallantry and sacrifice. The unexpected war put everything into chaos, and we had to put our lives on the line to protect the future of our nation. Then, you gave a warm helping hand to us in times of hardship and despair. It's still vivid in my memory that you came to help us in the name of friendship. When our country's peace was at stake, you came running into danger that might separate you from your loved ones for good. In a country you never heard of, despite challenging weather and fear of war, you devoted yourself to defend our freedom and the Republic of Korea. Do you remember the time we spent together? Even though we didn't speak the same language, we were all of one mind. We fought days and nights in severe cold, enduring injuries. We shed tears for the death of our innocent fellow soldiers. Your valor and sacrifice served as a foundation for us to regain hope. In the poorest country that was expected to take more than 100 years to rise from the ashes of war, we exerted every effort to recover from the war. With the sweat we shed, we began to make a history of a miracle amid the ruins of war. 60 years after the war, today, Korea emerged as the 10th largest economic power in the world and became the chair of the G20, as well as a proud member of the United Nations. Now, Korea is leaping towards a better future. Korea became the first country that transformed itself from an aid recipient to a donor and is reaching out to those in need across the globe. We will always remember your noble sacrifice and warm heart that offered help in the name of friendship. My dearest friend, you will always be our hero.
Thank you, Korean War veterans. Thank you, America.
We thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and thank you for your friendship through the years. United States Representative from the 5th Congressional District of Missouri, the Honorable Emanuel Cleaver II.
Let me first of all officially welcome two of my colleagues to Missouri's 5th Congressional District here in Independence, U.S. Congressman from Kansas, Dennis Moore, and his wife, Stephanie, and U.S. Congressman Russ Carnahan from St. Louis. I am delighted to serve as the honorary chair with the Honorable Ike Skelton, my 9-year-old grandson's favorite congressman, whose name is also Ike Cleaver. We have to get him turned around a little about who his favorite is, but he has clearly made the decision on his own that it's Ike Skelton. As a grandparent, we'll try to force him into some new decisions. On this 60th anniversary of the Korean War, I am privileged to welcome Korean veterans, dignitaries, and guests to the district that I represent and the place that Harry S. Truman called home. The man from Independence presided over our nation in one of the most transitional times in U.S. history. He was sensitive to what was morally correct and governed with the courage to rebuke his critics and fight the good for all of humanity. History tells us that in 1948, President Truman signed Executive Order 9981 with the purpose of eliminating segregation in the armed forces. But historical records fail, I think, to adequately illustrate the impetus of that order on civil rights in America. When I make speeches around the country, I tell them that the modern civil rights movement began in Independence, Missouri, with Harry Truman. Today, many of our population fail to understand the mood of America during post-World War II and the great divide in our country when it came to race and religion. My father, Lucky Cleaver, served in the Army during World War II, as did his two brothers, my uncles, Leroy and Emmanuel Cleaver, who served as Tuskegee Airmen. This past January, I visited my uncle, who's 86 years old, in Atwater, California. And as the person named for him, because my grandmother didn't know whether or not he was going to return home from the war, and so she forced her son, my father, to name me Emmanuel. And so I was in Atwater, and my uncle said to me, I want you to just follow me around the house. I want to show you the things that I'm leaving to you. And he pulled open a chair that had a bottom to it that opened into some kind of a little vault. And he showed me $200 or $300. And then he took me to other drawers and up into the attic. And then finally he took me to the closet in his bedroom. And he said, and in here is what you will appreciate the most. And so I'm thinking, now he's getting to the money. And he opened the door and pulled out his bomber jacket. And he said, I have saved this all these years for you. And that told me how much it meant to him that he had indeed had the opportunity to fight for his country. I can only imagine the daily obstacles they encountered, but they remained steadfast and loyal to the United States of America. The greatest irony was that our country did not recognize them as equals with their military peers. Jim Crow, with all of the ugliness associated with discrimination, extended throughout every portion of our country, our government, and sadly even the military. The executive order of Harry Truman would establish a gradual paradigm shift in military-race relations that slowly began to unfold during the Korean conflict at the end of World War II. Japan surrendered North Korea to the Soviet Union and South Korea to the United States, leaving Korea divided and primed for Cold War tensions. On June 25th, 1950, the North invaded South Korea, and President Truman initiated a United Nations response. Many veterans from World War II were recalled to active duty to fight alongside new recruits and into a slowly changing, integrated U.S. military. As black units were gradually absorbed, the famed Tuskegee Airmen lost their historic identity as they merged into the new United States Air Force. By 1953, it was reported that 95% of African American soldiers served in an integrated Army unit, thanks to Harry Truman. After the war, many Korean veterans came home with respect for the men they fought with and would no longer tolerate disrespect of fellow black soldiers. This new attitude and the demand for respect for all that served sent crippling currents throughout our country that would culminate in the civil rights movement of the 1960s and 70s. The Korean War has been called a forgotten war, but there is not a Korean veteran here today that will ever forget the war that saved South Korea from the grips of communism. This was the first time in the history of our country that we went to war with a military that would slowly erase the color line on the battlefield. Every Korean veteran faced the horrors of war and lives with the memories. You are a generation of Americans who, for the first time in our history, fought without regard to race, creed, or color, but together as Americans. You are our patriots who fought back the threat of communism and turned our country toward the path of equal rights. It is the veterans from the Korean War that quietly returned and made an impact on this great country. We mourn for those who died, for those who remain missing, and we honor all you and your families here today. Thank you, Korean veterans. May God bless you and the United States of America.
Congressman Cleaver, we thank you so much. The governor of the great state of Missouri, Governor Jay Nixon.
Thank you. I am honored to speak here today as we take time to remember the brave men and women who served in what some called the Forgotten War. We have many distinguished guests here today, especially General David Petraeus, Commander of the United States Central Command. General, it is an honor to welcome you to the Show Me State. We're also pleased to see these dignitaries here and here. For over 2 centuries, our nation's men and women have stood up when called to service by our country. Their names are remembered and their sacrifices are honored at 1,000 battlefields around the world, from Shiloh to Belleau Wood, from the Bulge to Omaha Beach, from Chosin Reservoir to Khe Sanh, from Fallujah to Kandahar. The price of freedom we enjoy in this country has been paid by the blood of those who gave all for liberty's cause. We should cherish our freedom and thank our Creator every day for it. On this 60th anniversary, it is appropriate that we take time to stop and remember our fellow Americans who did not hesitate to face danger in the Korean War, even at the cost of their lives. From the earliest days on the perimeter to the defense of Pork Chop Hill to today, American heroes have protected and continue to protect our national interests on the Korean Peninsula. The fact that you are here demonstrates that you also believe that it is important to remember and honor those heroes. By remembering, we take a vital step towards ending any discussion of a forgotten war as we honor the brave Americans who served so selflessly in the Korean War. While we pause to honor those who fought and perished in Korea now 60 years ago, we must also bear witness to the Americans who are sacrificing today to rid the world of tyranny and terror. Just within the last little over a week, we received the sad news that 2 Marines from our state died while serving our country in Afghanistan. On this day of remembrance, We also think of Corporal Donald Marler of St. Louis and Lance Corporal Michael Bailey of Park Hills, and pray for the comfort of their families. These young men volunteered to fight terror and defend their nation, and their cause has demanded the ultimate sacrifice. Their honor and bravery exemplify the highest ideals of military service. We mourn the passing of Corporal Marler and Lance Corporal Bailey, and those who, like them, died much too young in their service to our country. Since I became your governor last year, 18 young Missourians have given their lives while serving in Iraq or Afghanistan. As in the Korean War, these patriots represented the best of our country: courage, determination, selflessness. All of us can honor their memories by imitating those traits. We also honor the memory of those who gave their lives in the line of duty through our continued respect and recognition of the military veterans among us. Too often in the past, we have fallen short in giving respect and recognition to their sacrifices. That will not happen again. On this day of remembrance. Yeah. On this day of remembrance, let us resolve to learn from our veterans' sacrifice so nobly demonstrated by those who gave themselves on the Korean Peninsula, in order that we might also work to keep our country strong and free. I thank you for the privilege to be part of this ceremony today. I know you join me in praying that God will protect the brave men and women of our military who today are in the distant lands protecting freedom, and that He will bring them home safely back to our Show Me State. Thank you, and God bless.
Governor, thank you so much for your words and your presence today. To read a statement from the Congressional